The signal. High Admiral Vexna of the Galactic Confederation stood frozen before the quantum display, her crystalline appendages reflecting the pulsing red warning signals that filled the command center. The message displayed before her should have been impossible. Her senior analysts, the finest minds from 17 different species, had verified it dozens of times, yet the conclusion remained the same. Humans had achieved quantum resonance communication. Impossible, she whispered, though the evidence pulsed mockingly before her. The signal originated from the dead zone, a sector of space so ancient and dangerous that even the Confederation's most advanced ships avoided it. According to all known laws of physics, quantum signals couldn't penetrate its unique space-time distortions. Yet here was proof, a human signal, clear as starlight, broadcasting from its heart. The dead zone had earned its name millennia ago. The vast region of space contained the remnants of what scholars believed to be the galaxy's first civilization, the precursors. Their technology had been so advanced that even after 50,000 years, the quantum storms they'd left behind still rage, making the sector virtually impenetrable, or so everyone had thought. Admiral, her second-in-command, a Thoraxian named Kip, chittered nervously. The Council demands answers. They're concerned about the implications. Vexna's crystalline form shimmered with barely contained anxiety. The Confederation had always viewed humans as an amusing curiosity, clever primates who'd achieved spaceflight relatively quickly but remained centuries behind in truly advanced sciences. The quantum resonance technology that allowed faster-than-light communication had been the Confederation's greatest advantage over the younger races. Until now. "Show me the signal analysis again," she commanded, her voice steady despite her inner turmoil. The holographic display shifted, showing the complex waveforms of the human transmission. It was crude by Confederation standards, but undeniably functional. More disturbing was its complexity. Layers upon layers of encoded information, far more sophisticated than anything humans should have been capable of producing. "There's something else," Admiral Kip said, manipulating the display with his appendages. "The signal, it's not just carrying data. There's something embedded in its structure that our linguists can't decode. It's as if the humans have discovered an entirely new form of quantum communication." The implications were staggering. The Confederation's dominance was built on their monopoly of quantum technology. If humans had not only cracked its basic principles but evolved it into something new, the political ramifications would shake the galaxy's power structure to its core. "Have we managed to decrypt any of the message content?" Vexna asked, studying the perpetually shifting patterns in the signal. "Only fragments, Admiral. But what we've decoded is troubling." Kip's exoskeleton clicked nervously. "They speak of awakening, of ancient dreams, and bridges between time. Our xenopsychologists suggest these may be metaphors, but given the signal's origin." Vexna felt her crystalline core pulse with dread. The dead zone had been sealed for good reason. The quantum storms weren't natural phenomena. They were weapons left behind by the precursors to protect something the Confederation's founders had deemed too dangerous to risk awakening. "Send word to the Council," she decided. "Tell them we need to convene an emergency session." And she hesitated, knowing her next words would set in motion events that couldn't be undone. "Dispatch the 7th Fleet to the dead zone's perimeter. If the humans have found something in there, we need to be prepared." As her orders were relayed, Vexna continued to study the mysterious signal. Its pattern seemed almost alive, shifting and evolving in ways that defied conventional physics. The humans had always been unpredictable, their brief history marked by technological leaps that seemed to skip entire stages of development. But this was different. This felt like they'd stumbled upon something they couldn't possibly understand. In the depths of her crystalline consciousness, Vexna felt a fear she hadn't experienced in centuries. The humans hadn't just broken through the Confederation's quantum monopoly. They'd done something far more dangerous. They'd started listening to the whispers from the dead zone. And whatever was speaking to them from that ancient grave of space and time, it was changing them. The quantum display continued its endless dance of patterns, and in its shifting light, Vexna made a silent prayer to the cosmic forces her species revered. She prayed that the humans knew what they were doing, because if they didn't, they might just wake something that should have stayed sleeping for eternity. As the emergency alerts spread across Confederation space, no one yet realized that the signal was just the beginning. The real question wasn't how the humans had achieved the impossible. It was why they had chosen to reveal it now. And in the heart of the dead zone, ancient machines that had slumbered for 50,000 years began to stir, responding to a call that only human minds could hear. The awakening. Dr. Sarah Chen stood at the observation window of the research vessel Prometheus, watching the quantum storms rage across the void. Beautiful and deadly, the swirling energies painted impossible colors across space-time itself. But she wasn't interested in their beauty. She was focused on the pattern hidden within their chaos. "They're not random," she explained to Captain Marcus Rodriguez, who stood beside her with his arms crossed. "These storms aren't weapons or aftermath of some ancient war. They're a language." The captain's weathered face remained skeptical. After 20 years in deep space, he'd learned to be cautious about remarkable claims. A language that only humans can read. That's what makes it so fascinating. Sarah pulled up a holographic display showing brainwave patterns. When we first detected the quantum resonance, we thought it was just background radiation. But then we noticed it synchronized perfectly with human alpha waves. No other species' neural patterns match. We tested samples from every Confederation race. The Prometheus had been in the dead zone for 3 months now, officially on a scientific survey mission. The Confederation had protested, of course, but humanity's treaties guaranteed them the right to conduct research in any unoccupied space. The fact that this particular space was supposedly forbidden had just made Sarah's team more determined to explore it. "Show him," Dr. James Wu called from his station, his fingers dancing across the quantum interface their team had developed. The holographic display shifted, showing a 3-dimensional representation of the storm patterns overlaid with human brainwave frequencies. The synchronization was undeniable. The precursors didn't leave these storms as a weapon. Sarah continued, her eyes shining with excitement. They left them as a message, one they knew only a species with our exact neural pattern could decode. They were waiting for us. Captain Rodriguez frowned. "Why us?" "The Confederation has species far more advanced than humanity." "Advanced doesn't always mean compatible," James interjected. "Think of it like music. You can have the most sophisticated audio equipment in the world, but if you're not tuned to the right frequency, you'll never hear the symphony." A soft chime interrupted them. Another quantum pulse from the storm. But this one was different. The ship's sensors registered a change in the pattern. A shift so subtle that only their specialized equipment could detect it. The storms were responding to their presence. "They know we're here," Sarah whispered, her heart racing. "They've been waiting for 50,000 years, and they know we finally arrived." Deep within the dead zone, something ancient stirred. The quantum storms intensified, but not chaotically. They moved with purpose now, forming corridors of calm space through their turbulent energy. A path was opening. "Captain," the navigation officer called out, her voice tense with excitement. "The storms are clearing a route deeper into the zone." The path. It leads to the source of the original quantum signatures. Sarah turned to Captain Rodriguez, her expression both pleading and determined. "We have to follow it. This is what we came for." The captain studied the sensor readings, years of experience warring with the unprecedented opportunity before them. Finally, he nodded. "Plot the course. But at the first sign of danger, we pull back." As the Prometheus began its careful journey through the quantum corridor, Sarah's team worked frantically to decode the increasing flow of information coming through their receivers. The patterns were becoming clearer, more structured. They weren't just signals anymore. They were instructions. "It's a blueprint," James announced suddenly, his voice filled with awe. The quantum resonance. It's teaching us how to build something big. Before Sarah could respond, a new signal cut through their communications, a priority alert from Earth. The Confederation's 7th Fleet had mobilized and was heading toward the dead zone. They had less than 48 hours before the region would be blockaded. They're afraid, Sarah realized, watching the quantum storms dance around their ship. The Confederation knows what we found, and they're terrified. Because whatever the precursors left here, they left it specifically for humanity. And that means everything the Confederation thought they knew about their place in the galaxy is about to change. Captain Rodriguez gave the order to proceed deeper into the zone. On the quantum displays, the blueprint continued to unfold, plans for a device that would bridge the gap between the present and a legacy 50,000 years in the making. The precursors had chosen humanity as their heirs. And now, racing against time and the approaching Confederation fleet, the crew of the Prometheus was about to discover why. In the heart of the dead zone, ancient machines hummed with increasing power, responding to the presence they had awaited for millennia. The awakening had begun, and with it, the galaxy's balance of power was about to shift forever. The only question was whether humanity would be ready for the responsibility that came with their inheritance. The choice. The holographic chamber aboard the Prometheus erupted in chaos as the message from Earth Command materialized. Admiral Helena Torres' projection stood before them, her expression grave. The Confederation has issued an ultimatum. Either we withdraw from the dead zone immediately, or they'll consider it an act of war. Sarah Chen felt her stomach tighten. Behind her, the quantum interface continued to pulse with the precursor blueprints, each new revelation more extraordinary than the last. Admiral, you don't understand what we found here. The precursors. They weren't just another ancient civilization. They were the architects of consciousness itself. The Admiral's hologram flickered as quantum interference rippled through the chamber. Explain. James Wu stepped forward, pulling up the latest data streams. The quantum storms aren't just communication. They're a test. The precursors discovered that consciousness itself has a quantum signature. They spent millennia studying different patterns of awareness across countless species. And they found something unique in human consciousness, Sarah continued. Our neural patterns, our way of processing reality. It's exactly what they were looking for. They didn't just leave us a message, Admiral. They left us their legacy. The blueprints they decoded revealed a staggering truth. The precursors had created a network of quantum consciousness that spanned the galaxy. But they discovered their own patterns were too rigid, too crystallized by billions of years of evolution. They needed a species with the right balance of stability and chaos, order and creativity. They needed humanity. The Confederation fears what we found because it changes everything they believe, Sarah explained. Their entire hierarchy is based on technological advancement. But the precursors chose us because of something they can't measure or replicate. The unique way human consciousness interfaces with quantum reality. Admiral Torres's hologram paced, her military bearing at odds with the weight of the decision before her. The 7th Fleet will reach your position in 18 hours. If what you're saying is true, we can't let them stop us. But we also can't start a war. A new alarm blared through the ship. Captain Rodriguez's voice came over the intercom. Dr. Chen, Dr. Wu, you need to see this. In the observation deck, the quantum storms had changed. The swirling energies were coalescing, forming massive structures of pure quantum energy. As they watched, the structures began to take shape, vast geometric patterns that seemed to fold through dimensions beyond normal space. It's a city, James breathed. No, not just a city. It's their home. The precursor quantum matrix was revealing itself, a civilization preserved in pure energy and consciousness, and at its heart, a chamber waited, one designed specifically for human neural patterns to interface with. They're not just leaving us technology, Sarah realized, her voice filled with awe. They're offering us a place among them, a way to bridge the gap between organic life and quantum consciousness. But the choice before them was devastating in its implications. If humanity accepted this gift, it would fundamentally change them forever. If they refused, they would lose the only chance to understand the greatest mysteries of consciousness and reality itself. And they had less than 18 hours to decide. "There's more," James said, his fingers flying over the quantum interface. "The precursors. They didn't just vanish or die out. They evolved. They found a way to preserve their consciousness in quantum form. But they've been sleeping, waiting for a species that could wake them. A species that could help them remember what it meant to be organic, to be changeable, to be human." Sarah finished. "They need us as much as we need them." Admiral Torres's hologram watched the unfolding quantum city with a mixture of awe and trepidation. "The Confederation won't just stand by and let—" "Maybe that's exactly what they need," Sarah suggested. "The Confederation built their society on the idea that advancement is linear, that species can be ranked and classified by their technology. But the precursors chose us because we're different, because we still know how to adapt, to change, to dream." The quantum city continued to materialize around them, its structures defying the conventional laws of physics. In its light, humanity faced its greatest choice: remain as they were, bound by the Confederation's rules and hierarchies, or step into an unknown future as the bridge between organic life and quantum consciousness. And in the distance, growing closer with each passing moment, the Confederation fleet approached, carrying with them the weight of a decision that would reshape the galaxy forever. The bridge. The quantum interface chamber aboard the Prometheus hummed with energy as Sarah Chen made final adjustments to her neural link. The precursor city hung in space around them, a magnificent construct of light and consciousness that defied conventional physics. They had less than 2 hours before the Confederation fleet arrived. "The neural interface is stable," James reported, his voice tense with concentration. "But Sarah, we don't know what full quantum integration will do to human consciousness. This goes beyond anything we've ever attempted." Sarah checked the connections one last time. "We're out of options. The Confederation fleet won't listen to words, but they'll have to acknowledge actions. Someone has to be the bridge." Captain Rodriguez stood at the chamber's entrance, his expression grave. "The first wave of Confederation ships has entered the outer zone. They're deploying quantum dampeners, trying to shut down the precursor matrix." But the dampeners weren't working. The precursor quantum technology operated on principles that transcended conventional suppression methods. If anything, the attempt to shut it down seemed to be accelerating the awakening. "They don't understand," Sarah said, watching the energy patterns shift and pulse. "The precursors didn't build this city with technology. They grew it from consciousness itself. You can't dampen thought." The neural interface activated, and Sarah felt the first touch of quantum consciousness brush against her mind. It was unlike anything she had ever experienced, like suddenly gaining new senses she never knew existed. The precursor matrix wasn't just a network or a city. It was a living tapestry of thought and memory, waiting to be awakened. "Contact established," James announced, monitoring her vital signs. "Neural patterns are holding stable." "Sarah, what do you see?" Through the quantum link, Sarah experienced reality as the precursors had, a universe where consciousness and matter were merely different expressions of the same fundamental force. She saw the approaching Confederation fleet not as ships, but as clusters of thought and intention moving through space. And she saw something else: the true purpose of the precursor legacy. They weren't waiting for someone to wake them up, she gasped, the revelation flooding through her mind. They were waiting for someone to remind them why they went to sleep in the first place. "James, quick, show me the original quantum patterns we detected." The data appeared before her, but now she understood it differently. The precursors hadn't chosen humans because of some special neural quality. They'd chosen them because humans still possessed something the precursors had lost in their evolution: the ability to make mistakes. "Open a channel to the Confederation fleet," she commanded. and prepare for full quantum integration. Admiral Torres's voice cut through the chamber. Sarah, the fleet is preparing to fire. Whatever you're going to do it now. Sarah took a deep breath and activated the final sequence. The quantum interface flared with energy, and she felt her consciousness expand into the precursor matrix. But instead of being absorbed or overwhelmed, she remained distinctly herself, a bridge between organic thought and quantum consciousness. Through this connection, she broadcast a message to both the awakening precursors and the approaching fleet. Not in words or data, but in pure consciousness, the experience of being human, of living in a state of constant change and growth, of learning through failure and triumph. The effect was immediate. The precursor city blazed with new energy as ancient minds stirred, remembering what it meant to be imperfect, to learn, to evolve. And in the Confederation fleet, alien minds touched by this broadcast reeled with the understanding of what they were witnessing. This is why they chose us, Sarah explained, her voice echoing with the harmonic resonance of quantum consciousness. Not because we're special or superior, but because we're wonderfully, perfectly flawed. The precursors evolved until they reached what they thought was perfection. And then they stopped growing. They'd been waiting for someone to show them how to start again. Through the quantum link, she felt the precursor minds awakening not to their old perfection, but to new possibilities. And she felt the Confederation's shock as they realized that the hierarchy of advancement they'd built their society around was fundamentally flawed. Captain Rodriguez watched in awe as the quantum storms around them transformed, no longer chaotic barriers but flowing streams of conscious energy. They're responding to us. To you. What exactly did you show them? Sarah smiled, maintaining her position as the bridge between worlds. I showed them our mistakes, our failures, our endless capacity to learn and try again. I showed them what it means to be human. The Confederation fleet had stopped their advance, their weapons powered down as they tried to process what they were witnessing. In the quantum matrix, ancient minds stirred with new purpose, ready to learn again, to grow again, to remember what it meant to be gloriously imperfect. And in the center of it all, humanity stood as the bridge, not because they were the most advanced or the most powerful, but because they had never stopped trying to be better, never stopped learning from their failures, never reached for an impossible perfection at the cost of their ability to grow. The galaxy was about to change, not through war or technological superiority, but through the simple, powerful truth that perfection was never as valuable as the capacity to improve. The new dawn. 3 months after the events in the Dead Zone, the Great Hall of the Confederation Assembly hummed with an energy unlike anything in its history. Representatives from every known species packed the chamber, their attention fixed on the unprecedented sight before them. A human diplomat standing alongside both a Confederation High Elder and a quantum-projected precursor consciousness. Sarah Chen, now bearing the subtle neural markings of her role as the first human quantum bridge, stepped forward. The assembled delegates fell silent, many still adjusting to the reality that their galaxy's entire power structure had been transformed in a matter of weeks. For millennia, she began, her voice carrying the harmonic resonance of quantum consciousness. We all believed that progress was linear, that civilizations could be ranked by their technological advancement. Today, we know different. Behind her, the precursor consciousness shifted in patterns of pure energy, its thoughts translating seamlessly through the quantum interface she carried. The being had chosen the name Echo, a reflection of its role as a voice from the distant past. Our ancestors, Echo communicated, its thoughts rippling through the quantum field that now linked all sentient species, achieved what we thought was perfection. In doing so, we nearly destroyed ourselves, not through war or catastrophe, but through stagnation. We forgot how to change. High Elder Vexna, her crystalline form now modified to interface with the quantum network, added her own voice. The Confederation made the same mistake. We built hierarchies based on advancement, never understanding that true growth comes from diversity, from change, from the very imperfections we sought to eliminate. The evidence of this new understanding was visible throughout the galaxy. The quantum consciousness network, guided by human neural patterns, had spread to every willing species. But unlike the precursor's original version, this network preserved and celebrated the unique qualities of each consciousness it touched. Humanity's gift, Sarah continued, was never about superior technology or special neural patterns. Our gift was our stubborn refusal to stop growing, to stop learning, to stop making mistakes and learning from them. We reminded the precursors how to be imperfect, and in doing so, how to live again. The changes were profound. Confederation species that had once competed for technological superiority now shared their unique perspectives through the quantum network. The precursors, awakened from their stasis, found themselves learning from the very civilizations they had once hoped to guide. But this is only the beginning, Sarah announced, activating a holographic display that filled the chamber. It showed the quantum network spreading between stars, linking minds and cultures in ways never before possible. We've discovered something remarkable. Each species that joins the network adds new dimensions of thought, new ways of perceiving reality. The display shifted, showing the unexpected discoveries already emerging from this collaboration. Phyrexian collective thinking, combined with human creativity, had solved problems in quantum physics that had stumped both civilizations for centuries. Crystalline elder logic merged with organic intuition had opened new frontiers in consciousness exploration. The age of ranking civilizations is over, Echo proclaimed. We enter now an era of infinite growth, where each species contributes its unique gifts to our shared evolution. High Elder Vexna stepped forward. The Confederation hereby dissolves its hierarchical structure. In its place, we establish the Galactic Coalition, a network of equals, each valued for their unique contribution to our shared future. The chamber erupted in a chorus of approval that transcended traditional communication, rippling through the quantum network in waves of shared emotion and understanding. Species that had once been relegated to the lowest tiers of Confederation hierarchy now found their unique perspectives eagerly sought after. Sarah watched as the assembled delegates began to mingle, their consciousness touching through the quantum field, sharing thoughts and perspectives with a freedom that would have been unimaginable just months ago. The rigid barriers between species were dissolving, replaced by a web of mutual growth and learning. "They're ready," Echo observed, its quantum patterns shifting with what Sarah had learned to recognize as satisfaction. Ready to make mistakes, to learn, to grow. Ready to be gloriously imperfect. As the session concluded, Sarah stepped out onto the observation deck of the assembly station. Below, the dead zone was transforming. The quantum storms that had once served as barriers now formed bridges between stars, their energy repurposed to facilitate the growth of consciousness throughout the galaxy. A message arrived through her quantum link. Another discovery, another breakthrough born from the combination of different species' perspectives. Sarah smiled, feeling the pulse of billions of minds working together, learning from each other's mistakes, growing in ways no single species could have achieved alone. The galaxy had awakened to a simple truth. Perfection was never the goal. The goal was to keep reaching, keep learning, keep growing. And in that endless journey of discovery, humanity had found its true place, not as rulers or saviors, but as bridges between what was and what could be, between perfection and possibility, between the wisdom of the past and the infinite potential of the future.